Comic Boom.
Hey guys, Comic Boom here to review Superman issue 13. I'm sorry I've been a little behind on my reviews, guys. It's going to be that way for a while this summer. I'm just very busy at work, and I got to enjoy the summer with my family. It's a great time of year. But I'm going to try to put out some videos. If I do put out more videos, it takes time to do all the effects, and I like to have a little bit of fun creatively with the effects. And so if I put out more videos, I can put less effects. So I probably will do that and have less effects in post edit or whatever you call it there. But in any event, it is what it is. I've been reviewing most every Superman issue, and so I wanted to keep this up. And so I will be reviewing Superman and Supergirl. And yeah, this storyline here is continuing with Rogol Zaar. We actually finally had some action where all, Superman with Superboy and aged up Superboy and Supergirl, they got together. They took on Rogol Zaar. Superman had a conversation with General Zod last issue. General Zod is just pretending to work with Rogol Zaar. Last issue basically ended with Supergirl and Superboy taking off to follow Gandello, who's a member of the Count Circle, who was involved in some sort of conspiracy that ultimately led to the destruction of Krypton, or so we're led to believe. Meanwhile, Jor-el and Superman were heading toward Krypton, and this issue, extremely slow going. We really didn't learn all that much. This is, I guess we've come to expect it now, but just when the frustrating thing about Bendis is we already know that this is going to be a long story. But when we finally get a little bit of a hint or maybe some sign that it might be moving forward, we take 2 steps back. And that's the sad part of the whole thing. And it's very frustrating, and I'm very sort of you know what a cardiogram is, right? When somebody's going through, on a cardiogram, you see with your heartbeat there, sometimes you have a heart attack and you get the blip, and sometimes it's a flat line, right? I'm kind of like a cardiogram. I'm all over the place when it comes to Bendis because that's just the way he kind of writes. His dialogue this issue was really bad again. Boy, man, he more often misses dialogue than not. He's out of every writer that I'm aware of right now that I read, and I read a lot of comics, Bendis' writing is so prevalent because he's dominating DC right now. He's writing Superman, he's writing Action, he's writing Young Justice, he's going to be writing Legion of Superheroes, he's writing Event Leviathan. I mean, he's writing so many series. I mean, and he's even now his Walmart Batman came out as well. I mean, he's really, they should call it BC. It's Bendis Comics, not DC. That seems to be how it's going. And what's a little bit disturbing about it is Bendis doesn't have a handle on the DC universe. He doesn't quite have the respect. It's not enough. And when I say respect, I mean it's more, you don't pay respect to something simply by puking the character into a story or forcing the character into a story. You can't do that, because if you do that and you don't know the voice of that character, then you end up giving it terrible dialogue. And unfortunately, Bendis gives all his characters the same dialogue, the same tone, the same dialogue habits, visual habits. He doesn't put a lot of effort into dialogue, and boy, does it really show. And especially in this issue. There's a conversation in this issue with members of the Circle that is absolutely awful. There is even one member of the Circle that it's so bad. One member of the Circle, I mean, Jor-el is talking. It has a flashback to Jor-el talking to the members of the Circle, and we get a little bit more backstory. Apparently, all the members of the Circle, including Ran and Myander from the planet Tamaran, and even Ali Apsa of the Green Lantern, of the Guardians of the Green Lantern Corps, they all looked into whether or not Krypton was doomed. And apparently they all did their studies, and they did not believe that Jor-el, that Krypton was doomed, and they told Jor-el that. But Jor-el was nonetheless asking them for help, imploring them, look, I'm finding inconsistencies. And yet all the members of the Circle, all of them were insisting, including Gandello, of course, but we knew Gandello was betraying him. But even Ali Apsa, they were clearly lying to him. Well, why were they lying to him? Why were they deliberately allowing Krypton to be destroyed? This is really, really tragic. You can see the frustration of Jor-El. Here's a guy, here's a scientist who, by his own admission, he says he's helped the members of the Circle at various times, and yet they didn't help him, and his entire planet needed the help. And they could have evacuated hundreds of thousands of people off Krypton. They could have saved more of Krypton's culture and what have you. But that never happened, and exactly why is never really made clear. And what's frustrating about this is the manner in which all the members of the Circle speak. And the dialogue here is really atrocious. And I gotta say, Bendis, man, this is one of those things where you really gotta work on your language. You know, maybe just get some input. Like, don't let your ego get in the way. You're really not... I mean, there's one member, even Myander here, who's from Tamaran, actually states in this, when Jor-El's asking for help, insisting that Krypton's in trouble, and Myander says, I had my chief science officer leave his cousin's bar mitzvah to come check your solar system's radiation calibrations. He's from another world, and... Why would you think there's bar mitzvahs on another world? You think he's Jewish? Like, how stupid is that? Like, it's stuff like this that takes me out of the story. It really does. And I got nothing against bar mitzvahs, but where's the verisimilitude here? This is the Circle. They represent completely different cultures than Earth. In fact, Earth's not even part of this. What makes you think that they have bar mitzvahs on Tamaran, or that this guy would have his friend's cousin look into, like, this is such nonsense. If they were engaging in deception, they wouldn't sound this. I don't know. They just sound so stupid. I mean, Gandello, is it a Kryptonian thing? A House of El thing? I am really asking, Jor-El. Why can't you take no for an answer? Who says that? Who talks that way? I am really asking, Jor-El. Yeah, we know. You're talking and you're asking questions. That's why we know you're asking. And then he says Krypton's in crisis. Then Aliapsa says, I have had your sector's Green Lantern check your planet's core at your request and found nothing of concern. The Ran High Council checked your son's measurements. Red Sun's measurements. We have listened. We have heard you. But you insist on discussions. It is as if we have not heard you, Jor-El. We heard you. But we agree with your own science council. Enough. And it's just, the whole thing just doesn't really jive. The dialogue doesn't quite work for me. But in any event, I get the gist of it. Okay? So basically, Jor-El's... None of the council will give him the benefit of the doubt, and you can maybe see Jor-El's frustration, but if they're all lying to him, and we have to assume that they are, where I think that this particular issue doesn't do a particularly good job at is, if they're lying to him, then there ought to be more clues that somebody's lying to him. They ought to be more behind the scenes. We still don't know much about the other members of the Circle. We don't know much about the Rani. We don't really know much about Sardan in the context of this, Myander. We don't really know much about any of the other ones, any of the other members of the Circle here. And what's frustrating about that is that, you know, it's been a whole year. Remember, it was last year at this time that Man of Steel came out. It was last end of June of 2018. So it's been a year. So the retrospective of Bendis on Superman, or Bendis at DC period, it's been a whole year. And what progress have we made from Rogol-Zar? In the very first issue of in the Man of Steel series, I'm pretty sure it was the very first issue, we already knew of the Circle. We already knew of the Circle, and we already knew of Rogol-Zar, and we already knew that Rogol-Zar had something to do with the destruction of Krypton. How much more do we really know 1 year later? It's appalling. You know, I hoped I was wrong, but I predicted last year, and I thought I was being a jerk. I thought I was being a jerk, and I even made fun of myself at times. Oh, I thought I was exaggerating. I said, yeah, this is going to be a 3-year tale from Bendis. Well, we're already a year, and we almost know very little more than we knew a full year ago. That's extremely frustrating. This really is going to be a 3-year epic, and so. Look, I am interested in this. I'm interested in Rogol. I'm interested to know how the other members of the Circle betrayed. What was the level of betrayal? What secrets did they know? Superman and Superman holds his dad, Jor-El, accountable in this issue. Says, you know what, you know, you in the Circle, you were conspiring, and now no wonder all these nations now that you've survived. I mean, what is it that you did back then? You got, and Jor-el was defending himself, saying, "Look, the Circle, we were like your Justice League is. We protected the realm, or rather, protected the galaxy. That's what we did." And he says, "We were like your Justice League." He goes, "We never, we met every now and then, just like the Justice League." And he had a good point. I thought Superman was a little hard on his dad here. I really did. I thought Superman was far too hard on his dad. But due to bad writing, and I think it's bad writing, I can't attribute it to Jor-el. Jor-el just doesn't cut to the chase. Jor-el drags the story out. But let's be honest, it's really Bendis forcing the characters to drag things out, and that's what's so frustrating. I mean, they talk in super speed. I mean, Bendis, you've established that the characters can talk in super speed and in a super speed zone, and yet you drag out what they say. You think Jor-el and Superman... Jor-el will tell Superman everything he knows instantly, so tell us. I mean, are we going to drag out for another year? Come on, man. Once again, the art's fantastic. Brandon Peterson does the art. Ivan Reis. Brandon Peterson does some of the art. Ivan Reis does some. Joe Prado does some. Alex Sinclair on colors. Dave Sharp on the letters. And Reis, Prado, Sinclair on the cover. And Adam Hughes did the variant cover. Yeah. So the art's really good. But, and what's interesting here is that apparently Thanagarians then attacked Jor-el when he was on Krypton. So he's on Krypton. He tries to recruit. He tries to tell the Circle to let's put together some ships, rescue, get hundreds of thousands of people off Krypton as quick as we can. Because I still think I'm right. And so he goes to tell his wife Laura about it, discuss it, and he ends up being attacked by Thanagarians. Now, why would they want to kill? Why would they want to kill him? It would appear as if it probably a member of the Circle, perhaps the Thanagarian leader. The Thanagarians, did they actually want Krypton to be destroyed as well? Why would they attack Jor-el? What would be the motive? To prevent Jor-el from warning the Science Council of Krypton? To prevent Jor-el from prevent Jor-el from warning other Kryptonians that Krypton is about to be destroyed? It just seems odd because the Science Council already knew. There's too many questions here, but these are questions that I had 6 months ago, 7 months ago, 8 months ago, and they're still not answered, and it's still methodically slow. Bendis, again, you've established that these characters can talk in super speed. Why do you have to tell your story as if you're the turtle in the Flash? I mean, why so slow? Slow and steady doesn't win the race. It loses readership. So it's just, or at least it gets a lot of criticism. But in any event, guys, I could go on here, but overall, it ends with an offer being made to Lois, which I got to tell you, I'm just not interested in. Again, terrible dialogue again with Bendis speak. Lois speaks like members of the Circle. Again, I don't know how many times, twice in this comic book, there was the pattern. Hello, no, to whatever this is. It's so, there's always that repeat. No, hi, where are you? Am I? It's this type of, it's this choppy dialogue. Just get to the point, because you take the person out of the story. It is what it is. Lois gets an offer, but as a general criticism of the offer, this is completely false advertising. Why is DC putting the offer on all these when there is no offer made? Lex Luthor just shows up on the last page of every comic book that has the offer on it, and it's false advertising and it's a ripoff because no offer is made. It's just Lex Luthor showing up saying he has an offer. He doesn't actually say what the offer is. This issue ends the same way the last issue ends, with Jor-el taking Superman to Krypton. This is a filler issue where we learn really nothing, not really anything new. And so that's it. Guys, tell me what you think of Superman issue 13. Hit the subscribe button, follow me on Twitter at Metropolis40, and until next time, Comic Boom out.